Last weekend I went to see Ashley Campbell in Hassocks, which is near Brighton, which is about 50 miles south of London in England. For those of you who don't know, Ashley Campbell is the youngest daughter of Glen Campbell, who's one of my favourite all-time artists. Now, I've seen her play several times before. The first time, I've looked back through all my emails to find out when I ordered the tickets for these things. I mean, the ones that go back long enough that I had email. But I first saw her in 2008 when she was in her dad's touring band, and I saw her dad playing at the Fairfield Halls in Croydon, 2008. Then the first time I saw her playing under her own name, it was in 2018. I went along to the C2C festival at the O2 in London, and this was the second year we went, and I think this was the year that Casey Musgraves was headlining, and they had these little pop-up stages where they'd have an artist on while they sort of changed over the artist that was on the main stage, and one of those artists was Ashley Campbell. And it was the first time I heard her play a song, Remembering, which was the one that she wrote for her dad, which really struck a nerve for me. And she also played some cover versions of her dad's songs as well. Actually, interestingly, one of the other artists I saw on one of those pop-up stages was Lucas Nelson, Willie Nelson's son, and I since went to see him playing. I think it might have been even the same year he was playing, or maybe the following year, in the smaller venue within the Millennium Dome, whatever you call it now, and he's great as well. And then the last time I saw her was in the same venue that I went to this weekend. It's called the Mid Sussex Music Hall, I think, and it's in Hassocks. And I saw her doing a duo with her now partner Thor Jensen. Oh, well, I've got the Ashley Campbell t-shirt on. I bought a t-shirt last time. I've worn it in videos before. But I saw them doing their kind of acoustic duo thing, which was absolutely fantastic. But this time it was the full band, which I was very much looking forward to. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of Glen Campbell, and I think out of any artist, I've seen him more times. Well, I've paid specifically to go to his concerts more times. As I say, I've seen Ashley play now 4 times, but actually going to Glen Campbell concerts, I went to see Little Feat 3 times. I paid to go and see them 3 times. And there's other people I've seen, like Albert Lee, I've seen at sort of, what do you call them, like workshops and music fairs and things like that. I've seen him umpteen times, but Glen Campbell was the one person I bought tickets for to go and see specifically more times than anyone else. It was funny how I got introduced to Glen Campbell. It was because my dad bought a cassette in Woolworths. You'd have these sort of big wire baskets of cassettes that you'd rifle through, and he bought one, and this was the cover of it. Well, this is off the CD, which I since then bought, and it was this photo of Glen on the front here, and I thought he looked more like a geography teacher than a rock star, wearing that sort of check shirt and brown jacket. And my sister and I used to take the mickey out. Oh, there's this bloke on the front of this thing. And then my dad started playing the music, and we went from that to it being our favourite music, and I absolutely love it. I still listen to that selection of songs that's on that compilation. There's something about it, his voice, the purity of his voice, and the arrangements. And then, of course, I later found out more about Jimmy Webb, who I've also seen live. In fact, here's a photo of me with him. I got him to sign my book that he wrote, the Tune Smith book, all about songwriting. And the amazing thing about Glen was that he didn't change the keys to any of his songs. So I guess when I last saw him, he must have been in his late 70s. And every time I saw him, he was absolutely pitch perfect. I've never heard a singer like it. Absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to have a little musical interlude here now, and I'm just going to do a bit of guitar playing. I'm not going to play one of the songs, because if you play these songs you get copyright problems. So I'm just going to play Gentle on My Mind, which is one of my favourite Glen Campbell songs, which Ashley Campbell did play at the gig the other day. I'm just going to do a little bit of guitar playing over that chord sequence, which I like, just for a musical interlude before I get into the gig. Ashley's band consists of Thor Jensen, who she did the duo with when I last saw them, who is now her other half, I believe. On drums, Jack Amblin, who was fantastic, and on bass, Ben Nicholls. Now, if you've watched my video before, you might have seen me mentioning Ben. Now, here's me and Ben when we were about 17 or 18, having won the Battle of the Bands competition in Worthing, and we first started playing together for fear of sounding like David St Hubbins in Spinal Tap. I was 14, he was 15, or something like that. I can't remember, it was a long time ago. And then we shared a flat together after university and stuff, and Ben has now gone on to be one of the sort of first cool double bass players on the folk circuit and other circuits. He's recently played, well, he plays with Seth Lakeman. He's been playing with Seth Lakeman for years, and he recently toured with Nadine Shah, supporting Depeche Mode. So as you'll see from these clips, he's a very good bass player, and he's playing double bass on this rather than bass guitar, which he plays too. So Thor, this is Thor. He's a fantastic guitarist, and I have to say, there's very few guitarists that when I see them, it really inspires me, and I think, oh, they're fantastic. And it's not just to do with, it's not to do with technique at all, actually, because I feel that most things that if I really wanted to, I could sit down and learn technically, apart from maybe some of the stuff that I saw Tommy Emmanuel doing. It's just the ideas and stuff. And one thing that Thor did that I particularly liked, he was doing a slide thing and making it sound like a lap steel, but his playing was fantastic, great ideas, lots of different things he was doing. And it really inspired me. Some of the other guitarists I saw recently, and this is how I can tell whether I've enjoyed it, is I'll come home and then try and emulate it. I remember when I saw Derek Trucks, I came home, of course, I got the slide out and I'm really getting into it. Realised I can't make it sound like Derek Trucks, so that lasts about an hour. And then when I went to see Tommy Emmanuel, I've got a Tommy Emmanuel mate on guitar. I got that out and started doing some bits and pieces. So that's how I judge whether I'm really inspired by these guitarists. Needless to say, when I went to see Joe Bonamassa, I didn't bother getting my guitar out for a week. Now, Jack Amblin on drums, he had a little surprise halfway through, fantastic drummer, but then he got out from behind the kit and started playing the washboard. Now, for people of my age, you might remember a catchphrase from a British comedy show, "Where's me washboard?" Well, I'll tell you where his washboard was. It was strung round his neck, and he had a little cymbal thing and a teapot and stuff, and he played with what looked like thimbles on his fingers, and it was a fantastic sound, because he's such a good drummer. It was a fantastic groove. Here's a little bit of that.
Sitting all alone with my whiskey on ice, I wonder why he's not with me tonight.
Now on to Ashley. Now, she is a fantastic guitarist. Let me just play a little bit of an intro of one of the songs here. So she's a brilliant sort of finger-picking rhythm guitarist, and she also plays some sort of lead bits. Brilliant. And then she also plays the most amazing banjo. She's not just a guitarist who owns a banjo. Takes one to know one. I've got a banjo just down there. Don't think I've got it out of its case for several years, and when I play it, it sounds like it. No, she's a proper banjo player. She plays it again, great rhythm, and then does these solos with these incredible sort of chords using open strings. Fantastic. Also, her songs are brilliant. They go sort of range from these sort of heartfelt ballads to these really funny sort of country tunes about sort of internet dating, and there's one song that she wrote about one of her friends' boyfriends that she split up with. Really funny songs as well. In fact, my favourite song of hers, which strangely I don't think it's the best written song, it's one she wrote quite a long time ago, but it was the one that I heard her sing at the O2. It's Remembering, the one she wrote for her dad. And I think in terms of technical songwriting, she's improved a great deal, but this is still my favourite song, because I think there's something about this song, almost the naivety of it and the words, how literal they are, which makes it so poignant. And I urge you to go and find this, Ashley Campbell, Remembering. Go and look for the video on YouTube. The video contains loads of home movies of her with her dad when she was younger, and every time I watch it I seem to get something in my eye. In fact, she played it at the end of the gig the other night, and me and my daughter both sat there crying, which just goes to show what an amazing song it is. Check it out, you must check it out. And if all those things weren't enough, of how good she is. Her singing is absolutely phenomenal. I was thinking that style, the kind of benchmark is sort of early Dolly Parton, not the Dolly Parton now where she might be miming, and Alison Krauss. And I put Ashley up there. I mean, I've played some little clips here. She's just a phenomenal singer. She's got something, you know, her pitch and her intonation is perfect, and I love her tone. But the way she puts across the songs, she's a fantastic singer. I don't think it gets better than that. So as well as some of her own songs, they played some of the songs from the Jensen Campbell duo. They also did some really nicely chosen cover versions. There was a song that her manager had written. She did a Willie Nelson song. And then in the encore she did one of her dad's songs, Gentle on My Mind, which I played a sort of earlier. And she told the story about how she got her start in music by going out on tour with her dad, and she wanted to go out on tour with him after she graduated from university, and he was like, well, you've got to play something. Well, what do you want me to play? Well, can you do the banjo and Gentle on My Mind? So that's how she got out, started playing with him. And I think I've heard her play that song every time I've seen her. Absolutely brilliant. And there was some great in-between song patter as well. She kept going on about how she was awkward and she wasn't quite getting it together to begin with, which was, as was maybe, but it was still brilliant. And Thor is very funny. He's always chipping stuff in. And he told a banjo joke that I've never heard before. I mean, I've heard lots of banjo jokes because, well, I'll tell this now. My dad was a banjo player, and I thought when I moved out, I'd get away from the banjo. I mean, I moved in with Ben, the bass player on this gig, and he took up banjo almost as soon as we got this flat. So I couldn't get away from it. So I've got this love-hate relationship with banjo. As I say, I've got one there. And apparently the definition of a gentleman is somebody who owns a banjo who doesn't play it. So I must be a gentleman on that measure. I won't tell Thor's banjo joke though, because I don't want to ruin it, because he might tell it later on the tour, and you must go and see them. So I went along to see the gig with my daughter, which was fantastic. She really enjoyed it. She's 16 and she absolutely loved it. And at the end, she went and bought a poster, and I bought this T-shirt, and we had our photo taken with them. And they're much taller than us, as you can see from this. So if you like country music, and I'm not talking about sort of chart country music, which is sort of pop music sung with a twang, I always think. Not that I dislike it, but I'm just saying country music with proper instruments, these sort of proper songs in a more traditional sense, although, you know, what Ashley's doing still sounds contemporary, but it's much more, there's much more of a nod to that kind of traditional country sound than what's essentially pop music now. You've got to go and see this band. They're just fantastic. For me, it doesn't really get better than this. I think they could be destined for huge things. So go and see them while you still can see them in an intimate venue where you're not very far from them, because really these guys should be playing in arenas and stuff. Go and see them, go and buy a T-shirt, go and buy a poster, because I think you'll love it. It's definitely worthwhile. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I bring out new videos 7 PM UK time every Friday, so I hope to see you next week.